Welcome back to another brief devotion for busy people. Today in Devotionables, we're going to continue our series in the Psalms. We're specifically in Psalm 35 today. Psalm 35 is a little bit different than the other Psalms we've been in so far. Psalm 35 is one of the first of what's called Imprecatory Psalms. That's a $5 word, and sometimes it needs a little bit of explaining. It just means that it's a curse towards someone, or you're wanting to curse them, or just send imprecation towards them, to use the longer version of the word. And so this is the first of those. There are some that are a little bit more graphic than this one. But why do we have imprecatory psalms in the Bible? Well, they're very real psalms. They display, in this one, David's feelings very clearly about the situation in which he finds himself. We don't know the exact context of this one, but we know the story, the general story of David, and we know that there are a number of times where David feels helpless and outnumbered, and even as I'm saying that, there's probably different parts of his life that are coming to mind for you. It could be as Saul is angry with him, one of many times. It could be even when his child is going after him. And so we don't know what's going on at this particular moment, but let's look at a few verses of this psalm. It starts out in verse 1. Contend, O Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. Very important to remember, we do not live the same life as David. Here in 21st century America, we are not experiencing the life that David lived in, 9th, 10th century BC. It's very different. And in particular, we don't have enemies in the same way that David had enemies. And we have to understand that very clearly. Context is king when it comes to understanding what's going on in these more difficult to read Psalms, or what people consider more difficult to read. I don't find them difficult to read because I understand the context, and hopefully you will too. Notice, David says in verse 2, take hold of buckler and shield and rise up for my help. I don't have, a buckler and a shield stored away somewhere in my office. It's not anywhere in my house that I'm going to run and grab those things. I've never been on the run, literal run from enemies. This is a very different world in which David lives. And we have to understand that he was literally on the run for his life. You may feel that way sometimes. You may feel that pressure and may feel that way. David literally was that way. And it was something that he truly experienced. And so these Psalms come out of those experiences, and a very different experience than what you and I might live in our normal everyday life. And so we see different lines like this from the Psalm. We go into verses 5 and 6. Let them be like chaff before the wind. His enemies are the them. With the angel of the Lord driving them on. Let their way be dark and slippery, with the angel of the Lord pursuing them. Some people are like, what is this angel of the Lord? I think most simply you can look back to Exodus and how the angel of the Lord showed up in Exodus against the enemies of God. It was through the angel of the Lord that we see the plagues, namely the last plague occurring. And so David is saying, I need you on my side. I can't do this on my enemies outnumber me. They are too great for me. I need you, O Lord, on my side. And so that's what he's calling out in this. You see all the way as you go down in verse 14, I went about as though it were my friend or brother. I bowed down mourning as one who sorrows for a mother. But at my stumbling they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. The smiters whom I did not know gathered against me. They slandered me without ceasing. Slander is something, again, contextually different. You and I probably have people that have slandered against us. And it's very hurtful, and it is a real feeling. The results of that slandering is different in this context. They are slandering and maligning David's name in order to kill the Lord's anointed, to remove the Lord's anointed. It's very dangerous. His life is at stake. Not his livelihood. We might be slandered against in our job. We might be slandered against in some other aspect or part of our life. We're able to recover from that. David is on the run for his life here. And so we see in verse 17, he directly engages the Lord. Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue my soul from their ravages. The true context here is our battle is not against flesh and blood. Our battle is against Satan, the world, the flesh, the devil. Pastor Bill says it all the time. World, flesh, devil. That's who our battle is against. The one slandering us is not a human. It is the enemy. And that's who slanders against us. And so we should be calling out, because the only one who can overcome him is Christ, our Savior. We look on at the very end, verse 27. Let them shout for joy and rejoice. Oh, ho. What's going on there? Are we talking about the enemies? No, we got to complete the sentence. Context is king. Who favor my vindication. So the ones that favor our vindication, those are who should be shouting for joy and rejoicing. And let them say continually, the Lord be magnified, who delights in the prosperity of his servant. And my tongue shall declare your righteousness and your praise all day long. As we feel the true enemy going against us, slandering our name, maligning us in our everyday life, we should be gathering ourselves in community with others, that we want joy and rejoicing when we overcome him, not them, the true enemy. And so we need to gather ourselves in community. And this is a call for us to be together, whether that's every single Sunday, Wednesdays when we have the opportunity. This is a reminder that we are in this together. We have got to be together, cheering on each other's joy. So this week, think of someone now as you finish this devotional to pray for and cheer on their joy as they overcome the enemy who is pulling them away from Christ, that they might embrace Christ and the freedom that they have in him more. This has been a brief devotion for busy people. Go ahead and pray now. See ya.